Hello, brothers and sisters, friends. May God's blessings be in your life. I wanted to share with you a vision that I had um, some time ago that I had kind of kept in my heart for a while, mainly because I was more worried about what people were going to say and kind of how people were treating me, because I have so many of them, and then when I share them, I just, I look kind of like an idiot to everybody. And so for the longest time, when I was a member of churches, I here and there would share them, but really they were just kind of discounted as I was, one of the loony guys out there or something. And so I don't really know, but over the last year and a half of my life, the Lord has really come into me as I've sought the Lord Jesus and His teachings, and has given me strength to boldly go out and speak His name and speak His words, and, in the attempt to bring people to the Lord so that they'll come to know His salvation and know His grace, so they might be within His wonderful presence. And so I decided I would share this vision that I had. I was driving one day, and I do not remember where I was going, but I have a lot of my visions when I'm wide awake. Pretty much all of them. And I can be right in the middle of doing something. A lot of times it's almost like, when I'm driving, or maybe I'm watching programming, or I'm just sitting somewhere for a long period of time, playing the guitar for a long period of time, and it just kind of happens. But it always happens in a way where I can see myself doing what I'm doing, but then I see myself in this other place. And this is what happened in this vision. As I was driving along, I saw myself standing slightly above the earth, not really in space, but just enough of the earth where I could look down and see the curvature of the earth. I was high enough to see all that. And the earth was moving at very, very fast speeds. I mean, I was really, it was almost scary, it was like watching a marble roll or something really fast by, and if you put lines on it, you could just see it over and over and over and over. And a little bit into that dream, I was being carried along the surface of the earth, and I was going around the earth, and I was going around the earth and around the earth, and it was really so fast I couldn't see anything. Everything was kind of like a blur. And then suddenly, it happened. I don't know how to describe it. I was standing with a man next to me, and I couldn't see his face. And I wanted to see his face, but for some reason I just couldn't see his face. But I could see his shoulders, and just slightly below his shoulders and all the way down. And he was wearing a robe, and if that sounds ridiculous, I'm sorry, but that's what I saw. And he was wearing a robe, and he was pointing. And so I looked, and he was pointing at a city. It was a huge city. And there was buildings everywhere, huge buildings everywhere. And he continued to point at the city, and I kept asking him, "What is it, Lord?" Because in my heart I knew who it was, even though I didn't know where I was. And I said, "What is it, Lord? What are you trying to show me, Lord? I don't understand." And we began to walk, except when we walked really fast. I mean, it was like boom, boom, we were there in these different places. And we came to this city, and we were standing in the streets, and people were running everywhere. I mean, just running around crazy, and screaming and hollering, and some were just kind of going about like their daily life. Cars were just flying by. And this was a big city with big buildings, it was really a huge place, and I do not know what place I was at. I have been to New York. I live in Houston. I've been here. I've seen some pretty big cities in the Americas, and I didn't really recognize. I couldn't tell, but you get into so many places in downtowns. The buildings are big. And as we started walking, people kind of started noticing us as we were walking, and they were reaching over and grabbing hold of me, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but they looked like they were in agony. And I just kind of kept looking at them, like, what's going on? Talk to me. Can you hear me? Can you see me? But they were grabbing me, so I knew they could see me, but then they were talking. I couldn't understand it. And I kept turning to this man that I was with, and I kept saying, I don't understand. I can't hear what they're saying. I don't understand what's going on. I mean, I don't really understand what's going on. And I turned back around, and about that time, I heard people screaming, save me, save me, save me. And they were touching me, but it wasn't like they were talking to me. It was like they were just grabbing at me, like I was feeling it, like I was feeling, I don't know, the empathy or something. And we went from being on the street level to above these people, where they were kind of right at our feet, and just in an instant. And they were clamoring and crawling and crying out and screaming, and all of a sudden, all around the city, everything just kind of went basically to a destructive mode. I mean, things started exploding, buildings were falling down, windows were breaking. I think people were falling out of buildings. I mean, it was really, it was almost apocalyptic looking. It was just like a war zone. That would be the best way to describe it. It was like a war zone. And I kept looking up to him, and I was upset and crying. I was like, Lord, what's going on? I don't get what's happening. I don't understand. And he pointed back down, and I looked back down at all these people, and as they were coming up and they were clawing their way and they were screaming, save me and help me and all these things, I heard a voice as clear as day say, tell them we were at the 11th hour. And that was it. I mean, that was it. That was the vision, the 11th hour. Now, this happened about, I want to say about a year and a half ago, this being September 25th of 2011. So is when this happened. Maybe about a year and a half ago, I want to say that this is when I really got the clarification of this vision and stuff. And I really don't understand. I know that, I've searched the scriptures looking for some things, and, I've come across the stories of the bridesmaid that the Lord speaks about, talking about the midnight hour coming and what have not. I don't know if the Lord was trying to tell us that we are in that 11th hour, that we are just right at the coming to the hour. But I have heard other people speak on some things, and I'm not sure what, but in my heart I felt like the Lord was trying to tell me that we were right there. I mean, I don't know if the 11th hour means that it's 100 years from now or a year from now, or if it's 1,000 years from now. I don't really know. It's not for me to know, and it's not for you to know. It's only for God in heaven to know those things. But I wanted to share this with you in case anybody else has gone through something like that. And be encouraged. Know that the Lord speaks in these latter times, that He gives us visions, and He gives us dreams. And He speaks to us, and He hasn't left us. And He's speaking to us greatly. And I believe increasingly more and increasingly more, as with the rotation of the planet, faster and faster, these things are happening. And be encouraged. May God bless you. May God's peace be upon you, or God's peace return. Good day.